Hello and welcome to Tell Us Your Effing Story, a podcast by franchisors for franchisors that goes behind the scenes with some of the most interesting characters in the Australian franchising sector. I'm your host, Bruce McFarlane, my co-host, John Sully. Today we're speaking to Kate. Kate's the CEO of Spud Bar, which is also the founder of BusyBox and a serial entrepreneur. Lots of things that she's done over the journey. So looking forward to hearing more about Kate.
Now, Kate.
Yes.
Effing story is not what you think it is. It's franchising story, Kate. So I don't know where your mind went, if it's a dirty mind or anything like that, but that's not what it means. That's what I thought it was, but anyway. So start from the beginning. Tell us the full story. We're born, parents, blah, 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 all that really cool stuff.
All right. You asked for it.
Hit us.
So I grew up southeast Melbourne, in Endeavour Hills, actually. Pretty, I don't know, standard life growing up. Mum and Dad both worked. The good thing was Mum did night shift, and every third week Dad did night shift. So me and my brother would have lots of, I guess, house parties in our teens. And
It worked out all right.
What did they do? What was the...
So Mum's a nurse,
Yep.
or was a nurse, and Dad was a printer. So he did shift work, working on a press.
Yeah, right.
Which, not many of those jobs around
No.
these days. So, it was very much, I guess, me and my older brother. He's 2 years older than me. Shorter than me now, which I just like to put in there because I know he's going to listen to this.
Good.
It was, I don't know, it was a very much independent upbringing. You know, we get home, go outside, ride our bikes till it was dark, come home, go to bed, kind of thing. So, we walked to school every day, walked home from school every day. Mum and Dad, saved up and took us on great holidays. And to me, I guess it's just a very kind of normal Australian upbringing.
Yeah, sure.
High school was a bit different, I guess, later in high school. So, say year 9, 10, 11, really found out that it wasn't for me. I started working at McDonald's when I was 15 and absolutely loved it, and kind of went to high school for the social life. And then went to Macca's to happily be told what to do and get paid. I worked out soon that that's what I really wanted to do. I didn't really enjoy school. I was asked to leave in year 10
Because you were failing or because you did something bad?
Just because I didn't turn up. I didn't really fail anything. I just didn't,
Yeah.
You
show
probably
up.
did fail if you knew that you were...
Yeah, well...
So who asked you to leave? Like the school?
The school, yeah. So I had a meeting with the assistant principal, and I think it was when VCAL programs were starting to be a thing in high school. So I went and did a program called the VIEW program, where I worked 2 days a week and went into a special class, which was even worse for me, I think, and my attention span than what normal school was. But I made it through year 12 for the sole goal to beat my brother's TER score.
And God, it's not that you're competitive.
He's already got 2 mentions. You're
Yeah,
throwing him under the bus early.
Taking growth hormones to get taller than him. Yeah.
Did you beat him?
Yes.
Good. Yeah.
Of course. It wasn't a great TR. It was below 50.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But by that point, I was working at McDonald's 3 shifts a week, and that's not what I wanted to do, but that's what I enjoyed doing at the time. So, end of year 12, I applied for a few TAFEs for random courses, and got approved and could have gone to TAFE. But I was enjoying making money. I was I had a really good friendship circle at McDonald's, got along with the managers. So I decided to stay at McDonald's. I started doing night shift, closing the store 4 nights a week, so Sunday to Thursday nights.
Oh, gosh.
I'd do 5 till midnight,
Well, that's
mainly because on Friday, Saturday nights I was free, and then I didn't have to go back to work till Sunday afternoon, so I could party all weekend and then still go to work and work.
So you were developing strategies early
I
on.
was,
but
yeah, definitely.
I like it.
Definitely. The goal was to party, and we definitely did that.
Oh, well, that's good. And your mum, and
Yes.
obviously growing up in a family where your mum and dad are working hard and working night shifts and stuff like that, so you've got the work ethic that you've taken on, but
Yeah.
also knew how to have a good time as well. So it wasn't all about work.
No, not all about work, but we were, my brother and I were told that, you can leave school, that's fine, but you need to have a full-time job. So you're either going to school or have a full-time job. You're not going to sit around the house all day and do nothing. We're not going to support you if that's what you want to do. So it was work
That's good.
after school.
Did you do any study after that then, or?
No.
No.
No, I didn't do any study until later in my 20s.
Yeah.
So, so I guess partied for a few years at Macca's.
Yeah.
And then was asked if I wanted to join the management team. So if I wanted to start to do the management courses and everything. They did tell me that I had to stop partying if that's what I wanted to do. So, okay, that's fine. I was, 19, 20 at this point. So I became a manager when I was 20. And I must say the parties in McDonald's were a lot bigger than what I ever had outside of McDonald's.
Yeah.
They definitely know how to throw one back in the early 2000s. So
That's pretty impressive at 20, though.
yeah, it was. I don't know. They just prepare you for it.
Right.
It's you become an employee, and then it's like, oh, you could be a crew trainer. So you're like, okay, I'll work towards a crew trainer. Oh, okay, you could be a shift assistant. Oh, okay, cool. It's little steps along the way, and then you don't realise that you've been there 12 years and now you're an area manager, or so it's not as daunting. You don't think it's daunting at the time because that's just what everyone else is doing. All your friends are becoming managers, or they're leaving and going to uni and doing their own thing. But yeah, when you look at your friends and you're like, oh, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
So you're at working for a franchisee at this point?
I was working for McCopco, so the company.
Yeah, okay.
At this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, through my career at McDonald's, I did kind of flip in and out of a licensee or McCopco.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely did all of my management training while I was still with the company.
Yeah.
I mean, people always say that when you're looking at a CV and you see Macca's on it, it's a massive tick
Yeah.
because it gives you that structure and that process and the understanding of it.
Yeah.
So you obviously agree with that.
Yeah, it's funny because when you're in it, you don't see it because it's all you know. Like I was straight out of high school, straight into McDonald's. This is, how you get trained. This is the system. This is what you follow. This is what you do. It's not until you leave and you kind of go somewhere else where it doesn't have that structure or those expectations or the training where you're just like, oh, wow, is this how the rest of the world's working?
Yeah.
You just assume that everyone's got their shit together because McDonald's does.
Yeah.
So what sort of training? So you did some formal training as well as obviously on the job training with Macca's?
Yeah, so every, I guess, McDonald's course that they put you through, which is kind of in line with the diploma courses, so your Cert 3, Cert 4, diploma, advanced diploma, they're all kind of in line with that structure as well, but it's, as, a trainee manager or assistant manager, trainee manager, first assistant, and then store manager. So every time you kind of want to get promoted, you need to go do one of their courses, which is, I know it's different now, but for us, it was, a week in the head office training and then the biggest folder of work you've ever seen that you need to do that at least takes a minimum of 6 months.
And given your love of study, that would have been great for you.
It was. I'm not going to say that folders were passed around to each other to have a look at. But it was definitely a supportive environment when you wanted to go to a course.
Yeah, that era's version of AI.
Yes.
Copy that one down.
I am enjoying AI at the moment, I must admit.
I bet. So how long there for? How long at Macca's?
So 12 years altogether. I did leave for a year and went over to England. I did the backpacking and working in a pub and travel Europe and Africa
By
and
yourself?
Egypt and all of that. I followed a boy.
Oh, yeah.
He went over there for cricket, and then about 4 or 5 months after he was there, I went over. We didn't meet up again for a few more months after I was there. But yes, we spent most of our travelling time together.
Where did he play cricket?
It was just a small English town.
Right. But over here, he was obviously
He
pretty
played
handy.
over here. I think they had like a
Reciprocal,
sister team, but it's that's probably the female version of it. It's like so he just applied and went over
that's
there.
great.
So it was a bit of an adventure.
Yeah.
So I took a year off and then came back absolutely broke.
Did you work over there at all? Or?
Yeah, I did 2 jobs. So I worked. I was managing a cafe during the day and then working at a pub at night time.
In London?
Just out of London in Clapham Junction. It's a little bit of a rough area, but...
And then home to bed early, no partying or anything.
No partying in London.
No, nothing.
Nothing.
Very responsible by this point in my life.
Yes,
Yep.
good girl. Bullshit. Sorry.
And you've and came back, and did you come straight back and go back into McDonald's, or is this where you had the other?
I did come straight back into McDonald's because I was absolutely broke.
Yeah.
So I was actually store manager of the Doveton store, 24 hours, and if anyone knows Doveton, it's a very rough area.
Yeah.
I went to school in the suburb next to that, so didn't feel too rough for me. And a lot of my friends were in that area anyway, but it was, would have police there every couple of nights, or burgers thrown at me, or death threats from junkies and that type of thing.
Oh, crap.
It's lovely.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Surprising there was a job vacancy for that.
I know. Everyone wanted it.
Yeah. Highly sought after.
So after I came back, I went and completed my certificate for and training and assessment. So I wanted to get into training at that point. And then I was able to move into my MBA. So after you've been at McDonald's, I think at that time it was like 4 years, from a store manager position and above, you could walk into your Masters in Business with Ballarat Uni. You had to pay for it, but the pathway was there through McDonald's.
Wow.
So by this point I was 27-ish years old. And thought, what a great idea. I hated school. Let's go do a master's degree.
Sounds easy.
Yeah. So how far did you do? Complete?
I finished, yeah. Yep. But I did find that McDonald's was way too full on to also study a master's degree. So at McDonald's, you're either all in or you're not in. And I was, I'm not going to be all in. I really want to get my MBA. I never thought that would be something that I would be able to achieve. So I did move into training. I went and worked for a training company called Salma, which they were offering certificate 2 and 3 in retail, and their clients were McDonald's licensees. So we had customised training that I would go out and do training for McDonald's licensees. So it was very much, in my comfort zone still, but was very flexible work arrangements where I could still study and complete my MBA, which I did.
Good on you.
Hooray!
And did your brother do that? And if so,
No.
did you beat him? Sucker!
Good work. And someone was an entrepreneur, run by an entrepreneur and entrepreneurial business.
Yes,
So,
Marcus is amazing and crazy.
Yeah.
But very, very interested in I guess, company dynamic moving from McDonald's,
Yeah,
where
that's what I was
everyone's
thinking, yeah.
kind of
Structured
yes
to entrepreneurial.
Yes, to a very entrepreneur, which was great to learn from him and see how things can be done a different way.
What business was that?
Selma, it's called.
Yeah, Selma
Selmart.
Institute of Education. Selma.
Right. Selma.
So I don't think they're around
They sold it,
anymore.
didn't they?
Sold it, yeah.
Yeah, so Marcus was involved in Entrepreneurs Organisation. So back in the day when he ran that business. So so what sort of learnings did you get from Marcus in sort of being an entrepreneur? Because obviously you're just an employee in your previous roles.
Yeah.
Having never owned a business, and it's not like your mum didn't own a business and dad didn't own a business. So, what sort of things did you learn at that point?
I think it was more it's okay to go outside the box. So McDonald's was great for systems and structure, and this is how we do it, and this is how we're always going to do it. But it doesn't teach you how to think for yourself and back yourself. Whereas, I go to Selma, which is there was definitely structure and organisation and everything, but it moved fast, and you could make decisions and make a decision on Friday, and by Monday, that's what we were doing. Kind of thing. And you can see the decision-making process, whereas at McDonald's, you don't see the decision-making process. You're just like, this is what we're doing now. Mm. So it was, really interesting to see a completely different type of brain that I never saw at McDonald's before.
Did you like that?
Yeah, I did. I was like, oh, who's this guy?
Yeah,
and,
that's good.
And I guess at the start I was like, oh, but can we do it like that? Like, why can we do it like that? And then it just went, why can't we do it like that? Why does it have to be so regimented and take 6 months to approve something and change? And
so like a lot of entrepreneurs, he's got an appetite for risk.
Yes.
And he's prepared to fail and prepared to have a crack. And so, but things don't always go right. So did you see some of those things play out?
Yeah, definitely did. And I guess McDonald's there's a lot of ego in McDonald's. There's a lot of competing for roles and against each other and your friends, and it's a lot of ego. Whereas, so no one wants to fail, and if you do fail, it's shameful almost, because how could you not do that job? And so seeing someone that was kind of, it's okay to fail, let's take a risk, and that's okay. And he had supportive people around him that wouldn't judge him for that either. So it was kind of like, it was a whole different team dynamic, and it was great to be able to see that. I'd never seen that before.
So what did he do? Like was it a training course?
Yeah. So it's sort of like an RTO. So registered training organisation that would provide training for in hospitality, retail as well?
Retail, hospitality, childcare, aged care.
Government-funded training.
And he had other businesses as well?
Or just
stints. That? Right, his stints.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But at that time, I think he was like, it was pretty established when I got there, but I think he's kind of taken it all to a next level since I've moved on. Yeah.
And how long were you there for?
I think I was there for about 2.5 years
while
I did my MBA.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
And then around that time, so is this when are the kids come into the mix?
So the kids are probably 5 years away still.
Oh, so you've got, so Spud Bar next.
Yeah, well, I went back to McDonald's for a year.
Yep.
Because it was, I went to Serena Russo for 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. 2 weeks.
Which may not be found on my resume or LinkedIn profile anywhere.
So 2 weeks. How did you make
2 weeks, I realised.
Did you get sacked in 2 weeks?
No, I did not get sacked. Maybe if I stayed 3 weeks. I realised it wasn't for me. It was kind of like an account manager role, which is similar to what I was doing at Selma at that time. But I just realised that living in front of a computer and paperwork, and I guess the office every day with the same people just wasn't for me.
Yep.
So 2 weeks I was out.
So how did that conversation go?
It was like a thanks but no thanks.
Jeez.
Surprising considering you love school so much that you wouldn't like that sort of job.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
And so then is that when?
So then I went to Macca's, back to Macca's for a year.
They kept having you back.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah.
So this was for a different licensee.
Yep.
And then it was Spud Bar.
So at Macca's, obviously, it is a big corporate and you're working at head office as well as licensees, but sort of your early impressions of the franchise model?
Definitely. Working for a few different licensees and I guess seeing how, previously being with head office, but then seeing how head office would then impact the licensees and head office visits and the compliance side of things and some of the whinging from a licensee point of view.
Well, because you've been on both sides of it.
Yeah.
So you were the whinger at some time and being whinged about at others?
Yes.
Or, yeah.
Whingy.
Yeah.
Seems to be my life right now too. But so it was definitely, really, I guess, part of my life right from the start.
Yeah.
When I actually, for the first 2 years of my McDonald's life, was actually with a licensee and, he'd drive his Ferrari and he'd have, the bright red sneakers on and the, have all his face done and, like, it was...
Well,
it was the high life. Like
well,
he was living.
So what year is this?
Now.
What are you sort of talking
So
about?
99?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
98,
so
99.
They're making good money, the licensees, aren't they? So
Yeah. And, a different girlfriend every couple of months.
you got to see all that. No wonder the
we got
parties.
to see all of it.
And
then head office took over, I think 2000 in that store, and then it was
a bit different.
It was a lot different. Yeah, and that's I guess when my management career started.
They took the store back from the franchisee, from the licensee.
Yes. Yeah, he had 3 and was going through a divorce. Funny enough,
right?
And that one went back to head office.
Yeah, right.
So
so a year there, and then to Spud Bar.
Yeah.
So that's like 2000.
No. That was right at the start. That was when I was 15.
Oh,
The really rich guy. He was when I was 15. Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
So then 2012, you started at Spud Bar?
Yes.
Yeah, as in an ops role?
As area manager.
Yeah.
So as area manager, I was the only full-time employee.
Yep.
And reported directly to Simon.
Yep.
Who's the franchisor or one of the franchisors.
Yep.
At the time. So.
How many stores at that point?
6.
Okay.
And so Simon and Ant and the founder was still involved at the time?
No, the founder had already moved
left.
on. Yeah, so it was Simon and Ant.
Yeah, bought out the founder.
Yeah. So, it was definitely different to what I'd known at McDonald's. I think the plan was that Simon was going to be more in the business. In my first week that I started, they opened their first bounce. So it just went crazy. So I think I never actually saw Ant at his desk in the office, and Simon, very briefly in those first couple of weeks, and then it was just bounce kind of took over.
So they both
their
had
time.
bounce. They were both
Yeah,
involved in
yeah.
bounce.
So they're the founders there.
Right.
Simon had previously had a juice business that he'd sold into Boost and was CEO of Boost for a while. So he'd had sort of start-up through to large franchise system experience. But you've now... So it was great to have someone who's got that experience
it was
to
amazing.
work from. Yeah.
Yeah. He's been my mentor for the last 10 years. And I don't know if it was the plan, but I definitely had a lot of room to grow and to try things and take risks and be supported. It's absolutely amazing time for me at Spud Bar.
So you didn't. So it sounds like you're thrown in a little bit because they had a pretty big business going on over here. That and Spud Bar was the sort of almost the poorer cousin in the that they were doing because they've got bounce just went gangbusters early days. So, but that was I guess lots of learning for you. Like you had to make your own mistakes because you're actually in there making decisions.
Yeah.
In a sort of you weren't the GM, but you ended up being GM. I'm guessing by default.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very much for me. It was very much sink or swim to start with. I had unhappy franchisees. I had some underperforming company stores, but had great people in them. And we wanted to grow. We had Matt Wilkinson was also one of the shareholders, the Melbourne chef. So I was working with him on menu design and new products and that type of thing. So, yeah, it was just kind of like everything happening at once. And my support was obviously Simon, who I could call at any time, and he'd always listen to me whinge. But I had a part-time bookkeeper and a part-time accountant.
Right.
And
were any of the stores trading well? Was there? I mean,
yeah, most of the stores were making money.
Right.
That we didn't really have, I guess, the competition that we do these days, in that kind of quick service restaurant field. So yeah, the stores were really performing. Still had some unhappy franchisees because I guess, they had
possibly not getting the love.
Well, yeah, yeah, and then they didn't feel like they'd been listened to, and it was still at that point I think it was 10 years old, but to these franchisees it still felt like a very young company. Like we still hadn't kind of established ourselves, so the franchisees definitely felt like they had a really big voice in this company.
So of the 6, how many were franchised?
I think we had 2 company. So 4, yeah, 4, and then I think...
And were they all different franchisees? So there were 4 individuals or...
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And now?
Now we've got 23.
Yep.
We've got, I think there's 3 or 4 of them that have... Multis, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking for their thirds at the moment. No company stores anymore.
Right.
We did take a few back after and during COVID.
Yeah.
But we've been able to increase those sales and
move them on.
Move them on. Yeah.
So that's a really critical stage, isn't it? 6 stores to get to the 23.
Yeah.
What was the path for that?
It was interesting. It was kind of like we need to get the systems set up before we can grow.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, our menu wasn't overly costed, so we were still kind of going off like this cafe style menu, I guess. A lot of kind of different specials, and the menu kind of always rotating. So we decided, we're just going to do 4 specials a year and the menu stays as is.
Mm-hmm.
And, if we have a high-performing special, then that's what we put on the menu, and we take something off that is underperforming. But just that kind of structure, I did come in and say, okay, so where do we send the store managers for training? And everyone else laughed too. So. Okay, this is...
Yeah.
So you tried to bring some of the McDonald's stuff in, and obviously resources are a lot different in a very small business. So you learned the entrepreneurial way to grow a business quickly.
Yes.
You're the only person standing in the room.
Yeah.
Training meant you.
Yeah.
Definitely
Development
did.
you. Recruitment you.
Yeah. Yeah. New store openings. Yay.
Lease negotiations.
Yeah. At that time,
Simon.
I didn't really... Simon was still looking after, I guess, some of that high-level stuff. And he was still signing off on the franchisees that I was interviewing as well. So he still had his finger in the pie. But yeah, the day-to-day stuff.
But that, and you don't need to give away any family secrets or anything, but the GPs, I thought, on that business would be fucking brilliant.
They're pretty good. But when you add, I guess, the hot meat toppings,
right?
That's, I guess, the most expensive part of the meal. Our wastage is always really low because at the end of the day, all your wastage is potatoes, and not much at all. But yeah, some of the ingredients that we put on that we want at that high quality you obviously pay for it.
Mm. And the labour is low in labour?
It is low in labour. We can generally run, say an average store, 2 people over lunch.
Yep.
2 employees, maybe 3.
Yep.
So it's great for an owner-operator.
Right.
They're, anyone that's an owner-operator that's in their stores, they're the ones that run the best.
Right.
Because, they might need one, 18-year-old for 3 hours over lunch, and they can do the open till close. And then they might have another one on at night time for dinner.
So if you could say 4 or 5 things that you did during that journey to get it from, well, all of you, but to get it from 6 to 23, what were the big ones?
I think the first one's definitely systemising the operations, and not only systemising the operations, but being really smart on how you deliver that to your franchisees. So I knew that most of the time, being the only full-time employee, that I can't get to every store every week. It's impossible for me to do that. So I had to use technology. So one of the best things I ever did was, and Josh is going to love this, is implementing Ops Central into my business, because I could create training videos and put it on there, and I could use that as getting to the team members, not only the franchisees. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's probably the biggest thing that changed the way that I communicate to the franchisees and get information to them. So that was huge for something that we implemented into Spud Bar. Mm-hmm. I think the menu design and how we create new menu products, and where we have an idea and 8 weeks later we could almost have it in store. Yep. So we're very very efficient.
Who's we?
The royal we.
Yeah.
Well, it's a we now. It's a we now, and I had 2 kids during my time at Spud Bar, so I did have to hire people for when I went on my 10 weeks maternity leave.
Yeah.
Each time.
Yep.
So I did open a store while I had a baby in hand. I think she was maybe 5 weeks old. Opening the store and then going to the toilets to breastfeed, and then coming back out and going back to work, while my husband at the time would just walk the kids around Frankston Shopping Centre. But I tell you, builders definitely do what you want them to do when you're either pregnant or child in tow. So
because you get very angry.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
It's
not a strategy that I recommend, but it's definitely one that gets shit done.
Yeah, they have to look into your eyes and say, "Do not stuff around with this woman."
You are. And so the business has chugged along, it's grown, you've gone, but it also has had some setbacks. You've had, you've picked franchisees that weren't necessarily the right people, and so how have you had to deal with those learnings as well? Yeah,
and I think it was all very stable. You get one bad franchisee, you can kind of manage them, you manage them out, sell their store, get a better franchisee in. COVID really highlighted for us the ones that work in their store and are dedicated to the system, and the ones that kind of just tinker in and out of their store, and it may not be their first priority. So we had huge lessons during COVID. I had stepped out of the business for a few years. I'd replaced myself and stepped out, which is when I went to work for the Franchise Council of Australia. The GM that I replaced myself with, he left within about 6 months of COVID. So I stepped back into the business part-time, mainly because, had half our stores closed. We didn't need a full-time GM. So, once I've kind of stepped back in and speaking to the franchisees again and really helping them stay afloat, that was our only goal during COVID, was helping them stay afloat. We did have the odd franchisee abandon store and leave for a wedding in Pakistan and never come back. And we hold head leases at that point on pretty much every store. So that's, I guess, how we did inherit some stores over COVID. So yeah, there was a few lessons that we learnt, I guess, about risk in the business that I guess we just weren't aware of before COVID. That this is something that could happen.
So how many did you lose throughout that?
We closed one that was at the end of lease, and we were paying about 100 on the rent for that one, and Westfield wanted to put it up to 150 during COVID. So we bowed out to that and thought that's probably not a good idea. So we closed that store, unfortunately. The Fountain Gate store.
You're a franchisee, is that yours?
I was a franchisee.
Yeah, that was your store.
My brother and I. Yeah, my brother and I, we were franchisees of that store. The people that we sold it to, they're the ones that went to Pakistan and never came back.
So, sorry, just on that franchisee part. So, you were talking before about the successful franchisees were the ones that were in the stores.
Yeah.
But how much were you and your brother able to be in the store there?
Not full time.
Yeah.
But we were there, I was there every weekend.
Yep.
And he was there during the week. He also has his own business as well, as a pest controller. So, yeah, we just kind of juggled it between us, and we had a really good team in there.
So you made it work? You got financially, it was going okay? We won't put that in the
let's revert back to the stores work best with an owner operator in there.
Yeah.
Comment.
And around this time, so you've got your part-time in general manager role.
Yes.
You've also took on a gyms business as well. So you're a regional master franchisee. Is that what they call it?
So my brother and I were regional franchisors for Jim's Dog Wash.
Yep.
So we had two regions in Melbourne, so over in the west, and then
we had a few phone calls. You and I were both commuting from one side of the
city.
We were,
yeah.
It's a long way over there from the outer east.
It is. It's a great area though for growth.
Yeah.
And then regional Victoria as well. So
yep.
Lots of road trips.
And so obviously a very well-established franchise system that you could learn something from in terms of how they did things, and also probably didn't share the same values as you in how they supported their franchisees. Yeah,
I think so. Look, I think the system itself is a really good system.
Yeah.
It's for me though. It's one of those systems that really depends on the people in the system running it. That is what's probably going to affect your experience while you're there. We joined gyms with 4 franchisees. 2 of them weren't signed up correctly, so we had to support them in moving on.
All right.
And then we sold it with 14 franchisees in 2 years. And pretty much all of our franchisees were making pretty good income each week. I think I loved it because it was mainly females that we would sign up, and they were generally females that were either single parents or either kind of later in life looking for a career change, or early 20s that didn't really know what they wanted to do. But you could see they had this great work ethic about them.
And love dogs.
They all love dogs. So, I think the experience for me was it kind of highlighted, I guess, the level of compliance that I have for franchising. It was a bit different, and I think it kind of goes back to my McDonald's days where things can be black and white. Like, this is how you do things, this is not how you do things. Kind of took place. So yeah, there was a bit of a clash about what we agreed should be in place and not in place. So yeah, we sold out maybe just at the start of COVID.
Mm-hmm. Probably
Good timing.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Right. And you took a role at the FCA, so you got to work across the industry body and
Yes.
work with in a business development role or membership management role. So working with franchisors across the country. So how did you enjoy that role?
Yeah, look, I really enjoyed that role, and I was there during COVID as well. So I was the one that took a lot of the phone calls on, I can't open my business. Is there government funding? I'd have franchisors call, do I have to charge my franchisees a fee while we're closed? I really enjoyed it because I felt like I was giving back to the industry. And I loved the team that I worked with there, and it was kind of something different every day. There'd be an event or, the National Franchising Conference or an expo, or something would come out in the media, or that type of stuff, and then just supporting members and trying to give members more of kind of your value out of their membership.
Tough time. I mean, it's all new shit, and you got to be making decisions.
Yeah.
And be very, very well informed.
Yes. Yeah.
How'd you do that?
A lot of it, I was like, Mary, handball.
Help me.
And look, and some of the operational stuff, is from that at that point just kind of comes naturally these days, and supporting franchisees and helping them. So I guess that side was pretty easy for me.
I think it was great for the actual industry body to have someone who'd been a franchisee, was a franchisor, was currently actually still a franchisor, an owner of a franchise business. At that stage, you had some part ownership and CEO role at Spud Bar.
Yeah.
So had seen all the different layers, so actually understanding it. Yeah. So I think that was really good. And then you also decided to start a business as well just after that. So
let's do a startup in COVID.
Yeah.
That was a good idea.
Yeah, so you thought, well, actually, you had there were a couple of other ideas that you were going to do with Matt and others, yeah? So you had a few concepts. You've been, deriving concepts both in food and outside food.
Yeah.
And so,
I've still got a folder at home that still has,
harebrained schemes, my wife calls them, crazy ideas.
And when they don't work, that's what I call them.
Yeah. So you've had a couple that didn't quite get off the ground and now one that you've... Well, tell us about the ones that didn't work and why they didn't work, and then the one that is going.
There's some that are still, I guess, conceptual, that will either take quite a bit of investment to get up and running, and I guess it's just that kind of that risk that goes with that, and then when you need investment, then you're selling some of your business as well. So I guess you got to decide which one you actually want to do. And one of the lessons I learned is that you don't have to do everything straight away. So you can sit on an idea for a while if you want. Obviously, it's best to be first to market.
So with as an entrepreneur with a short attention span, how does that go with you to sit on something for a while?
Well, you just move on to the next thing. You just find the next idea.
So the ideas are coming, yeah.
Yeah.
So you got a couple
that's the problem. The ideas keep coming. So we did invest in one, and we did, I guess, semi-launch one, which was we built a online platform for sole traders, for individual business owners in the home services sector, so gardening, cleaning, window washing, car detailing, that type of thing. So instead of them, I guess, having to join a franchise, that they could join, I guess, a subscription model and be able to get all of their training done online. They were still able to get supplier benefits and discounts that you would get with a franchise system. We also had a client management system as well. So we kind of built an online platform for what you would ultimately get for a franchise, but as a subscription model, so you could leave whenever you wanted to as well. And
how did that go?
It's
still going.
It's still going. No, it's pretty much closed down now. The platform still lives, especially in my heart. But
developing tech. New skill set for you.
It
Did
was.
you get some results though? I mean, how many sign-ups did you?
We
get?
didn't. I don't think we launched it as well as what we could have. I think we, at that point, it was still COVID. We were kind of mindful of, how much money do you throw at something before you don't think it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So we built it, we soft launched, and then we put the pin in it and we parked it.
Right.
And it's still parked.
But out of that, developed your the business that you've got?
Yeah, so I guess after that, a few things kind of changed personally anyway. So I'm now a single parent. So I had to find, I guess, in the early days of that, find a way of still making an income, being 2 days a week at Spud Bar, and having my kids 50% of the time. So, school drop-offs, school pickups,
Mm-hmm.
play dates, all of that still lives in my world. So out of, I guess, all of that came some opportunities where I could write operations manuals for businesses that want to franchise. Obviously, I understand the franchising code of conduct fairly well.
And you love school, so
I love writing
manuals.
And I think I've come from McDonald's, which is very systemized, so I understand systems at their fullest, but also understand what it takes to get a startup up.
Mm-hmm. But you also going from McDonald's to Spud Bar, which was very entrepreneurial and stuff, to understand the benefits of the systems, but also how to bring. You don't have to have a full system. You can pick good bits. I know, I describe Spud Bar often as it's a bit lighter touch in terms of franchise, because you're not trying to make them do every single thing all of the time like Macca's do, and so you can use that knowledge in writing manuals for particular franchisors to work out how the system will apply in practice to their business. Yeah,
definitely. So giving them, I guess, some guidance on how do they want to manage their franchisees, and making sure that the franchise agreement supports that, but also the operations support that as well. Because you can go into any business and write the operations manual on best case scenario, but if they're not going to enforce that and follow that, then the operations manual is just useless. So let's write one that's going to be useful for everyone in the business.
And the business, and that, so you're getting some clients, I know, so that's good.
Yeah.
You're having some success, and
I am having some success.
Yeah.
It's been it's good because I've been able to work from home on those days that I do all my writing, and then Spud Bar a couple of days a week.
Yeah.
And then of course another project we're launching in the next month or so as well.
You allowed to talk about that?
Probably. We're going to be at the National Franchise Conference.
Okay.
Right.
So we've built an online training platform for franchising courses. So franchise-specific, customised courses for franchisors and franchisees.
To do what?
So say for franchisees, it's a lot of, I guess, their basic business courses that, I guess from my experience, when someone comes into a franchise, depending, I guess, the franchise and the level of their own education, they may not know what a BAS is or what HR compliance actually looks like. And what I found in, I guess, the systems that I've worked in is that they don't actually get those training. They'll get an operations manual and a franchise agreement to say, you need to read these codes of conduct and you need to understand this. But sometimes a little bit more supported online training can kind of go a long way, I guess, with those, especially with those systems that, say Spud Bar was the only full-time employee. I can't go out and train everyone in HR compliance all the time. So, HR, local area marketing is another one. Franchisors always kind of wish that their franchisees knew more or were better at. And what I've learned is that sometimes when it comes from a third party, a franchisee will listen to the information a little bit more than when it comes from the franchisor.
Always.
Yeah, so we're the third party. It could be an onboarding course. So, does the franchisee actually understand what the franchise agreement is and what the operations manual is, and how is this relationship, how do you work with your franchisor, and what does that relationship look like, and how much power do you have? And
so they're generic courses, or are they tailored to...
They're tailored for franchising.
Right.
So, in the local area marketing one, it might have something on social media, but it will say, depending on your franchise agreement, you might not be able to have your own Facebook page, or you may be able to have your own Facebook page. This is something that you need to know. Whereas, a generic business course would say, go out and get a Facebook page, and then you could be in breach of your franchise agreement.
Yeah.
So
That's good. Good on you.
very customized.
Very good. Seems to be a lot around paperwork. That's bizarre.
Sucker for punishment, I guess.
And so you, a lot of the people that we work with are emerging franchisors, which Spud Bar's right in the middle of that. And what sort of tips have you got for franchisors that are developing their business and growing their business, and to really scale it to the next level?
I think it is as much advice as you can. Talk to other franchise systems. Go to the FCA events. Just research as much as you can. Get advice, and just, I guess, treat your franchisees the ways that you'd want to be treated as a business owner. They need support. They need hand-holding. They're not going to understand everything. But you just have to be there for them. I know that sounds really soppy, but, if you're starting a franchise, they're starting a franchise too, as a franchisee. So I think you just, really need to understand what they know and what they don't know, and really help them with that. But, if you're starting your own franchise, just keep going. You're not going to have all the answers to start with, but just keep moving forwards, and you'll learn along the way.
Good idea.
And I think that the role of the franchisor relationship is really, it's great that making sure that your franchisees are successful, and how can you support them, and you guys are doing that well. So the fact that you've got multi-unit franchisees at Spud Bar, and people looking for another site.
Yeah.
That's a great sign of success for your business.
We were interested to see, I guess, what came out of COVID, and, how your franchisees feeling, and the fact that we came out of COVID and we had 4 franchisees going, all right, we want our second store. Oh, we want our third store. We're like, okay, we must have done something really good during COVID times, because they still believe in the brand.
Yep.
And as long as they keep believing in the brand, then you've got a brand.
And you just went over to IFA, to Las Vegas for research, sorry. Back, so, what did you learn about, what's going on globally from your time at IFA?
I definitely learnt that free pouring vodka is not something
idea.
that I can manage.
On night one.
On night one.
Scary.
I don't recommend that.
Yeah, Kate didn't get a lot out of day 2.
Just some life lessons.
Nice takeaway.
Look, America's, I found really interesting with, they can have a brand that have 500 units and still be in one state. Whereas we have 500 units in Australia. Australia's done.
Yeah.
Like there's no one left.
You're the 4th or 5th biggest franchise in the country.
And their compliance is a lot different to what ours is over here. Like, obviously, we're a lot more compliant. So, some of the things that they can do, I kind of went, oh, I wish I could do that. But just with the compliance, it's just I feel like it's just a completely different beast.
Do they do it well?
They seem to. I guess, I'm only talking to franchisors over there, not the franchisees. So from the franchisor point of view, they're all doing pretty well. I would love to actually, speak to the franchisees to see how they're feeling, because sometimes, when there's less compliance, There's a few, other issues that can come from that. So it'd be interesting to see, they may have 500 units, but how many of them are happy and doing well. So it was completely different. It was completely different, I felt.
When we first bought Michelle's, there were 16 stores, and 2 of them, cakes and pies and coffee, and 2 of them were selling alcohol out of there as well. That was a nice, diverse start to it. During your time, I'm just interested at FCA, and you're in contact with quite a few franchisors. How would you rate the quality of our franchisors in Australia for the ones that you met, I suppose, came across?
I'd rate them quite highly, but I would say, the ones that are investing their time and money to go over to America to learn, they're probably going to be the good ones anyway. It might be, some of the ones back home that should be going over or, should be attending more things like, the franchise registry came out, and there's so many brands on there that you never heard of or are just not part of the franchising community, that they're the ones that kind of worry me. I think they're the ones that might need, some more education and support, and it'd be interesting to, again, to see what their franchisees think. But yeah, the quality of franchisors that went over to IFA was, really, I was quite impressed with.
You obviously think that we don't do enough as an industry if you're setting up a training platform to train franchisors train franchisors and franchisees.
Yeah.
What else can we do apart from what you're doing? Because we're just doing some analysis at the moment about multi-retailers that are out there that have got 2 or 3 stores, and we've got a bit of a bet going as to how many there's going to be, and I bet there's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
So how do we get it across to them to say, right, well, let's grow your business. Let's take you 2 or 3 to 30 or 40 or 50. How do we do that in your eyes?
I think it really depends on who the owner is of those 2 or 3. So some 2 and 3s, they're happy. That's just, there's no risk.
As is their lot.
Yes.
Their want.
Yep. Like they're happy in life. So it's, I guess getting to those ones that have the drive. And I find the ones that have the drive, they're the ones that will step forwards. So it's not always, I guess, going out hunting for them, but being open for them for when they do step forwards, and I guess having something there that they can look at doing. And I guess we looked at education. So if I was a business owner and I was like, I want to grow, how do I do that? I'm either going to look for an advisor, I'm going to look for education, I'm going to look for membership somewhere. So I think being one of those 3, and really marketing and pushing yourself to be out there, I think that's how they're going to find you when they're ready to take that step. Because otherwise their risk profile is so low that they'll you could go after them, but you're never going to get them anyway.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Kate, for telling us your effing story. You've done exceptionally well.
That was the PG version.
From the kid who dropped out of school at 15 from Endeavour Hills.
I didn't drop out, I finished.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I was asked to drop out.
Oh, yeah, sorry, thanks for clarifying.
Two big highlights of being taller than a brother and getting a better result.
Thank you.
Well done, Kate.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.